It's 3-something in the morning again. Phone light splashes the ceiling like cheap moonlight. You've closed every single app twice, but the thumb can't resist that half-awake swipe. It's muscle memory now, like reaching for a phantom cigarette. And what are you really looking for? Not news, not memes, just a flicker of confirmation that the hollow under your ribs isn't growing teeth. You wonder, am I the only one whose life feels like a live stream I can't pause? Let's call that ache what it is. A flare shot from deep inside, begging for coordinates. Stay here. We follow the flare tonight. Stat check. I feel empty quadruples on Google since 2020. Surgeon General calls loneliness a health emergency. Neuroscientists in Los Angeles run MRIs, watch isolation light up the exact neural grid that screams when you touch a stove. We're drowning in TikTok stitches and split-screen reactions, yet starving for one pair of eyes that holds longer than a double hap. Psychologist Tim Kasser says we swapped intrinsic oxygen, friendship, curiosity, growth for extrinsic helium, followers, filters, the dopamine chime. Looked like a harmless trade, the soul got the invoice later. Why does the void feel foggy? Fog is camouflage. Vague pain survives longer because you can't lance it. Tonight, we handle scalpels made of words. First stop, Copenhagen, 1840-ish. Soren Kierkegaard, coffee trembling, writes about the sickness unto death. Not literal death, soul suffocation from living as somebody else's costume. He warns, despair is not being yourself. Sounds dramatic until you realize most of Instagram is 4K despair with nice presets. Kierkegaard's cure? Brutal honesty. Starting with yourself. Pop the balloon. Real air floods in. Shift scene to late 1800s Germany. Nietzsche walks mountain paths, breaks the internet early by announcing God is dead. He's not popping champagne, he's forecasting a weather system. A value vacuum, bigger than any one culture. We removed the cosmic narrator, but kept the stage directions. Now everyone's improvising, terrified. Nietzsche's solution is scary but thrilling. You, yes, doom-scrolling you, must forge values like a blacksmith forges iron, hammering through sparks and setbacks. Otherwise, the algorithm will forge them for you, and it already has a hammer called engagement. Fast forward to French Algeria. Albert Camus stares at an uncaring sky, labels the vibe the absurd. Universe gives zero answers, humans keep asking. Camus decides the bravest act is to live in full color anyway. Imagine walking in desert heat after the mirage pops, but each footstep makes water appear. That's absurd rebellion, juice from sand. He writes The Myth of Sisyphus, says we must imagine Sisyphus happy. Translation for 2025, even if inbox zero refills, you can push the boulder with style. Cue Swiss psychiatrist Carl Gustav Jung. Lamp in one hand, exploring inner catacombs. He says modern misery isn't a lack of stuff. It's an overload of unlived life. Enter the shadow. Every urge, stab of envy, tremor of grief we exile behind polite emojis. Energy doesn't vanish. It ferments into numbness. Ever backspace an honest DM because too much? That's the lungs begging for oxygen truth. Individuation, Jung says, is like sitting down with your dream characters for coffee till the small ego meets the big self. Modern fMRI backs him. Narrating your shadow lights language emotion highways. Heart rate peaks, then steadies. Body high fives honesty. Depth psychology adds another layer. Collective unconscious. Myths older than continents float under our memes. Hero, trickster, mother, shadow. When TikTok feeds us only persona, the curated mask, the underground archetypes bang on pipes. Bang feels like anxiety, flatness, flatly, sometimes I can't feel anything. Thoughtful. The fix? Let the archetypes gig. Sometimes that's painting, sometimes screaming karaoke, sometimes ugly crying in voice notes. Resolutely, let the underground city breathe. Slide to Vienna 1940s. Viktor Frankl survives Auschwitz. Notes people last longer when they have a why. He sketches logotherapy. Meaning is found, not in comfort, but in responding to life's demand. Profound quote time. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose. Emptiness stretches that space until you can finally see it. Jump back even further. Stoic Rome. Marcus Aurelius, journaling while plague and war knock. Calmly, love the hand fate deals you, he writes, and play it as your own. Stoicism isn't emotional ice. It's emotional posture. Pain becomes weightlifting for character. Early Buddhism, meanwhile, says the hand is temporary anyway. Self is a verb. Emptiness could be kinetic energy waiting for choreography. Modern psychology pockets all this wisdom and quantifies it. 3 pillars of meaning: coherence, purpose, significance. Inquiring. Coherence. Does your life story make sense? Probing. Purpose. Do your actions aim beyond comfort? Somberly. Significance. Would someone notice if you ghosted the planet? Yank one pillar and the temple wobbles. Add self-determination theory. Autonomy. Competence. Relatedness. The feed hijacks autonomy with infinity scroll. Erodes competence. Everything's passive. And sells relatedness as pixel hearts that expire at midnight. Emphatic. Loneliness isn't a bug. It's a business model. Neurochemical quick draw. Dopamine equals pursuit. Serotonin equals steady worth. Oxytocin equals trust hug. Phones pump dopamine like a broken soda fountain. Crash serotonin through comparison. Starve oxytocin with zero skin contact. End result? Engine red lines, no pit stop. Ancient rituals, bonfires, communal bread, rites of passage, balance the cocktail. Now the ritual is the refresh gesture. The fire is LED blue. That whistle in your chest? Chemical crosswind. Let's ground all that theory into real-world flesh. Imagine Jay, a 28-year-old who avoids anger because childhood taught him angry means unlovable. 4 jobs later, he's numb. One sleepless night, he free-writes rap bars full of rage. Terrible flow, but raw. Tears, laughter, heartbeat. Neuroscientists call this name it to tame it. Philosophers amend tame it, don't cage it. Anger moves from basement gremlin to slightly rowdy dinner guest. Table gets loud, but life returns to the room. Picture Mia, 35, who scrolls hashtag couple goals till 2 a.m. She confuses pixel significance with lived significance. Therapist asks her to make one ugly clay mug. She laughs, says she's not creative. 3 weeks later, she's selling lopsided cups at a farmer's market. Face lit up like sunrise. Competence pillar restored. Dopamine and serotonin high five. These aren't life hacks. They're micro myths. You become creator instead of consumer for 10 minutes, and chemistry salutes. Kierkegaard smiles from the past. Nietzsche twirls his mustache. Jung nods, shadow doing a small fist pump. Now, deeper dive into coherence. Humans are story beasts. Neuroscientist Michael Gazzaniga calls the brain's left hemisphere the interpreter, constantly stitching facts into narrative, even if the facts don't fit. When life becomes a highlight reel collage, the interpreter throws its hands up. You feel that as fog. Solution? Write your life like 3-act fanfic. Act 1, setup. Act 2, mess. Act 3, the vibe you ache for. The map isn't the territory, but it beats wandering the algorithm's maze. Purpose pillar next. Frankl said purpose often hides inside pain. Ask, what ache do I know intimately that someone else faces alone? Might be anxiety attacks, might be immigrant paperwork, might be teaching grandma FaceTime. Purpose isn't always grand. Sometimes it's just lifting weight off the next person's back. Brain scans show altruistic acts spike oxytocin and, fun twist, dampen physical pain. Meaning literally numbs hurts. Significance pillar finally. Mattering. Psychologist Isaac Prilotensky notes people thrive when they feel they matter, and they add mattering. Social media fakes one half. You feel seen, but you don't necessarily see back. Reciprocity glues significance. Real mattering echoes. Fake mattering resets with the algorithm update. Quick detour to collective culture. Sociologist Emil Durkheim coined anomie, norm-shattering disconnection. Fast food spiritualities fill the vacuum. Hustle culture, zodiac memes, crypto cults, not bad per se, but often sugar rush. Void says, I need protein. Protein is anchored ritual, plus purpose, plus relationships that survive airplane mode. Let's zoom into the shadow again with actual steps. Nothing woo. 1. Name. Write the label you avoid. 2. Witness. Tell a friend or camera. 3. Translate. Art, riff, movement. 4. Integrate. Schedule the shadow trait a job. Anger becomes boundary guardian. Envy becomes compass for unmet desire. Done. You don't exile parts. You reassign them like departments in a startup. Why music matters. Researchers at McGill show shared singing releases endorphins and binds strangers faster than conversation. Modern answer? Karaoke bars, choir apps, carpool belting. When you harmonize, you create instant relatedness. Loneliness cracks. Awe science. UC Berkeley found that 15-minute all walks lower cytokines, markers of inflammation. Stare at tall trees or time-lapse galaxies on your laptop if you can't leave the city. Awe blows mental cobwebs off the interpreter. Story sense comes back online. Heads up on traps. Toxic positivity sells good vibes only, which is basically more persona, less shadow. Stoics would call that delusion. Buddhists might call it clinging. Healthy meaning-making welcomes the entire weather report. Let's revisit dopamine. It's not evil, makes you chase dreams. Problem is weaponized unpredictability. Slot machine scroll uses variable reward loops discovered by B.F. Skinner. Hack back by creating predictable reward loops. Daily journaling, weekly game night, monthly hiking. Brain loves knowing payoff is coming. Serotonin smiles. Deeper purpose? Japanese concept ikigai. What you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, what pays bills. Doesn't need to be world-changing. Could be baking bread that actually tastes like home for immigrants. Writer Haruki Murakami calls long-distance running his ikigai's backbone. Boring laps feed creative fire. Purpose often hides in rhythm, not climax. Coherence's enemy, constant context switching. Psychologist Gerald Weinberg shows each task switch costs 20 to 40% productivity. Soul version. Each identity switch fragments story sense. Multi-persona life leaves you with highlight shrapnel. Reclaim coherence by ritual openings and closings. Light a candle to start writing. Blow it to end. Doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes. Groups matter. Stanford research shows collective effervescence, sharing emotional high, raises well-being longer than solo joy. Think concerts, protests, sports. Online can spark it, Twitch chat during a hype moment, but you still need embodiment sometimes. Sweat, laughter outlive stickers. Financial emptiness twist. Materialistic goals correlate with lower life satisfaction after the purchase buzz fades. Kasser again. That doesn't mean money evil. Money equals option. But chasing status symbols for significance is like drinking salt water. Trauma complicates emptiness. Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps the Score shows unprocessed trauma freezes the nervous system. Meaning work must sometimes start with safety. Breath work, EMDR, decent sleep. Philosophers light the path. Therapists help tie your shoes. Okay, story interlude. I once asked a barista what keeps him going. He shrugged, said, I like remembering names. People light up. Tiny significance pillar repaired daily, one latte at a time. Not Instagrammable maybe, but dopamine and oxytocin having brunch. Let's talk play. Adult play lowers cortisol, boosts creativity. Nietzsche credited dancing for philosophy breakthroughs. Modern hack? Improv classes, D&D, pick up basketball. Play reminds the interpreter that life isn't just PowerPoint slides. Spiritual but not religious crowd. Ritual hunger without dogma. Build micro-liturgies. Friday gratitude text. Sunday park walk. New month letter to future self. Coherence regained. Serotonin applause. Tech guardrails. Grayscale your phone. Move socials to second screen. Give apps bedtime or go analog after 11 p.m. Autonomy pillar grows muscles when temptation isn't in your pocket 24/7. Loneliness antidote checklist. Not a hack, just reality. Eye contact, shared sigh, inside joke, synchronized breath. Oxford study shows 40 seconds of eye contact releases phenylethylamine, that falling in like buzz. Try it. Feels weird? Works. Before we close, remember, emptiness gets loud when life's story is too small for the size of your soul. Expand the story. The void becomes space, not whole. Shadow becomes color, not stain. Pain becomes material, not verdict. So tonight, let silence finish its sentence. Ask yourself out loud, which part of me is on mute? Write 2 reckless lines. Tomorrow, read them before you doom scroll. Then come back here. Drop the line, plus the thinker. Kierkegaard, Nietzsche, Jung, Camus, Frankl, who hit hardest. I'll be in the comments for the next month, walking this road. If the void finally has a name, smash subscribe. We'll keep naming, keep hammering, until names turn into real-life paths.